I spent over 10 hours live reviewing the most interesting and or most powerful cards each color got in the year of 2024. The goal of this stream was to figure out what new designs, effects, and added redundancy each color got for the Commander format, and in so doing, we will be able to better analyze the state of each color and whether or not the color needed help, needed its efficiency reduced somehow, or was perfectly balanced in the current Commander format. This project took a lot of research and a lot of time, so I really appreciate it if after you're done watching the video, you went ahead and hit the like button for me. It would help me out a lot. With that out of the way, hope you enjoyed the video. Our very first card from Mild Inconveniences at Cardlaw Manor, we have Case of the Ransacked Lab, 2 and a blue for a Case enchantment. Instant and sorcery spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. To solve, you've cast 4 or more instant and sorcery spells this turn. If unsolved, solve at the beginning of your next end step. If the case is solved, whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, draw a card. It's kind of hard to believe, but Blue for a very long time actually did not get a ton of instant and sorcery based draw a card engines. Like we got Archmage Emeritus in Strixhaven, which is Magecraft. When you cast or copy an instant sorcery spell, you draw a card. There's really not a ton of mono blue instant and sorcery draw engines, if you can believe it. There was this Jingataxius, where your non-creature spells, man value 3 or greater, draw you cards. So you could kind of count this, I guess. Also, we got a mono blue instant and sorcery cost reducer. For a very long time, it was literally only Goblin Electromancer, which is a blue-red card. Like there's Arcane Melee that affects everyone. Baral was, I think, the first asymmetric instant sorcery spell reducer. I guess there was Voracious Reader, if you could transform him. We got Phantom Magic in Baldur's Gate, bets 4 mana, and is based on you casting your commander, so not a lot of people like it, because it's like 4 mana do nothing. And once again this year, we got a lot of effects that do this. There's also Jace's Sanctum as well, but again, 4 mana means that people kind of don't like it that much. It seems this year that Wizards gave Blue a lot of instant and sorcery spell cost reduction ramp and instant and sorcery based card draw. Interesting, to say the least. What that means, we will get to that as we go. We have Case of the Shifting Visage, or Visage, from the Commander Precons. 1 blue for a Case enchantment. Then your upkeep, Surveil 1. To solve, there are 15 or more cards in your graveyard. If solved, whenever you cast a non-legendary creature spell, copy that spell. We've had, like, Swarm Intelligence effects, where you can copy your instant and sorcery spells. This copies creature spells. We've had cards that make token copies, of course, like, I guess Clone Legion is, like, the best example I can think of. This actually copies the spells themselves. Yeah, like this feels very weird for Blue to get. It's also just a surveil engine, so you get card selection every turn for free. Very odd effect for Blue to have. Hey chat, remember this thing?
Brother, ho! What the hell?
You're not ramping this thing in mono blue. You're finding a way to like can show and tell it, I guess. This thing is also 25 cents. Kind of wild, considering how weird of a card it is. Coveted Falcon, chat. 1 blue for a 1/4 artifact bird creature, flying. Whenever this creature attacks, gain control of target permanent you own but don't control. Disguise 1 blue. When this creature is turned face up, target opponent gains control of any number of target permanents you control. Draw a card for each one they gain control of this way. Chat, this is gonna sound stupid, but I'm like, again, reminder, I made this list of cards like months ago, and then I like forgot I intended to make this video, or stream rather. I'm like 99% sure I put this card on here because it's like anti-theft hate, even though Homeward Path exists. It's also a donate, that you can donate mobile things for. It's a weird card. It's a weird card. I'm not gonna lie, this actually probably should not even be on here. No one's playing Coveted Falcon in their decks. Moving on, chat. We have Follow the Bodies. 2 in a blue sorcery. Gravestorm. When you cast this spell, copy it for each permanent put into a graveyard from the battlefield this turn. Investigate. It's a sorcery though. This is a blue draw spell that cares about creatures dying, which is a very not blue thing at all. It is clue based, so I understand that, the flavor is we're investigating all the dead people. I get that. It still is like a interesting effect for blue to get. Like, you would think this would be a black card, right? Not necessarily super powerful, just interesting that blue has a card now that actually cares about creatures dying. We got Prof's Eidetic Memory. What the hell does eidetic mean? What does that mean? Practice. What? No. I want to hear it.
Eidetic.
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 Oh my god.
Eidetic.
Bro. Oh, hell no, man. What the
Eidetic.
fuck, man?
1 blue for a legendary enchantment. When Prof's Eidetic Memory enters, draw a card. 1 card. You have no max hand size. Again, you comment your turn. If you've drawn more than 1 card this turn, put X +1/+1 counters on target creature you control, where X is the number of cards you have drawn this turn, -1. I don't think blue is really like a +1/+1 counter color at all, dude. Like, it's mostly things that, like, scale with themselves. There's not only a color that, like, puts +1/+1 counters on other things. Like Chasm Skulker. It itself gets the counters, right? This card that, like, buffs your creatures based on drawing cards. It's, like, so weird, dude. And not to mention, our other card that also has to do with Proft in this set is also very weird. With Reenact the Crime. 1 in 3 blue. Instant. Exile target non-land card in a graveyard that was put there from anywhere of its turn. Copy it. You may cast a copy without paying its mana cost. This is a... Dude, this is a blue, like, Dread Return is also, like, a... What the fuck? This thing is so good, dude. 4-minute instant reanimation for anything. That also gets you, like, any cast triggers. Like, bro, if someone's Ulamog dies, 4-minute instant, exile it, copy it, get your own Ulamog with the shuffle trigger on a stack. This thing is so weird. How is this allowed? Inconveniences at Karlov Manor gave blue so much, like, weird stuff that blue doesn't usually get. Between, like, this thing and the memory and the Gravestorm card and, like, the Case of the Shifting Visage. Like, why is blue getting, like, so much, like, odd creature support, and yet no one plays it? You know why? Because everyone ignored inconveniences at Karlov Manor. That's why. It's not because the card's bad. It's 4 mana, I'll give you that. It's a little expensive. It's still, like, a wacko card. It's a wacko card. It's a wacko card. Anyways, that concludes mild inconveniences at Karlov Manor for blue here. Moving on to Fallout now. Curie, Emergent Intelligence. Curie here, 1 in blue, legendary artifact creature robot, 1/3. Whenever Curie deals combat damage to a player, draw cards equal to its base power, 1 in blue. Exile target non-token artifact creature you control. Curie becomes a copy of the exiled creature, except it has the whole, whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you draw cards equal to its base power. Very strange card. Blue has gotten cards that say, when it hits someone, draw a card. Curie is cool. She's a very weird card, but, like, in a good way, because she can become other artifact creatures and then draw you lots of cards, but with said artifact creatures. So, you know, you cast a Triplicate Titan if we're playing that in 2025. You get triplicate Titan in the field somehow and have Curie become a triplicate Titan. And then when she smacks someone, you draw 9 cards. I believe this is the first blue creature that lets you draw cards equal to total power and not just when it hits someone, you draw a card. So Voltron blue, but weird, yeah. We've had Ancient Silver Dragon. This draws more than 1 card, but it's also 8 mana and it's random and could also still draw you 1 card. We had Fear of Failed Tests, I guess, in Duskmourn. It's kind of just like 2 Scroll Thieves stapled together. You don't really see creatures that draw based off of power, really. We have Nerd Rage, chat. 2 in a blue. Enchantment Aura. Enchant creature. When this aura enters, draw 2 cards. I feel like auras never get ETBs to begin with. Enchant creature you have no max hand size, and whenever this creature attacks, if you have 10 or more cards in hand, it gets +10/+10 until end of turn. Again, why is this thing getting +10/+10? Why is a blue card giving that big of a stat bonus? Why? How? Literally how? It's also just at worst like a divination that gives a creature you have no max hand size. And again, shows that blue is getting a lot. Blue got a lot of weird crap this year. And also got a lot of like reaffirmation in the things they were already good at, like draw engines and ramp that isn't sorcery based. Struggle for Project Purity. 3 in a blue for an enchantment. As this enchantment enters, choose Brotherhood or Enclave. Brotherhood, getting your upkeep, each opponent draws a card, and you draw a card for each card drawn this way. So on your upkeep, you draw 3, 4 in total per turn, and your opponents will draw 1 card each. Then Enclave, whenever a player attacks you with 1 or more creatures, that player gets twice that many rad counters. First of all, this thing is just a really good draw engine. This thing can get this. Just choosing Brotherhood alone means that every upkeep, or every one of your upkeeps, you draw 4 cards in total for turn, which is really good. Yes, your opponents also draw 1 card each, but I promise you, dude, being able to draw 4 cards on your turn is a feeling unlike any other. And also, the weird part, this is a Pillow Fort card that also makes your opponents lose life. I mean, yes, it also mills because it's rad counters, so that part makes it make somewhat sense, but they're still losing life for attacking you. If a player swings 3 1/1s at me, they get 6 rad counters, bro? That's kind of wild. Really good draw engine just on its own. This might be like if you don't want to run Rystic's Life for whatever reason,
Wow.
this is probably your next best option because it draws so many cards for granted 1 more mana, but also has the ability to be like a Pillow Fort card. Moving on to Thunder Junction, everyone's favorite set of all time. We have Forger's Foundry, 2 and a blue for an artifact. Tap, add blue. When you spend this mana to cast an instant or source spell with mana value 3 or less, you may exile that spell instead of putting it into its owner's graveyard as resolves. And then for 3 blue, you can tap it and you may cast any number of spells from among cards exiled with this artifact without paying their mana costs. The closest thing blue has to like a Mizzix's Mastery. So this card's weird, right? Because you don't want to cast counter spells with it because they don't do anything when you flash them back. So you actually want to be casting like cantrips and like your Pongifies. All of your low to ground blue spells that actually hit permanents or just like draw cards, and with 5 mana you can flash them all back at once. It is a new design because it lets you cast a bunch of spells at once with the second mode, and it's payable true. I'm not sure if you honestly, I'm not sure you'd ever even get the chance to do this more than once in a game, but maybe because once you cast the exile cards, they go back to the graveyard. Haughty Jin, 1 blue for a Jin creature, star 4 flyer. That's what I'm doing. Oh shit! Wait a minute. You're right. Never mind. Wait. Nah. Never mind. You didn't see that, chat. An actual junction card. Thunderclap Drake, chat. Instant story spells cost 1 less to cast. yet another mono blue card that gives your instant sorceries a cost reduction. So once again, we're cementing, like for a long time, instant and sorcery cost reducers were exclusive to like blue-red with like Goblin Electromancer. Kaladesh the set, we got Baral. But lately, the past 2 years, mono blue has gotten like 5-6 cards that reduce the cost of instant sorceries. Not blue-red, mono blue. And also this thing can also be a reverberate that scales with how many times you've cast a commander from your command zone. Good card. And once again, is yet another blue ramp spell that cares about instant sorceries. Moving on, we have Jace Reawakened. 2 blue mana. This is our 3rd 2-mana Planeswalker, I think, we've ever gotten. Unfortunately, you cannot cast him during the 1st, 2nd, or 3rd turns of the game. Womp womp. +1, draw a card, discard a card. +1, you may exile a non-land card, mana value 3 or less, from your hand. If you do, it becomes plotted. -6, that's one turn, whenever you cast a spell, copy it, whatever. The most relevant mode on him is the plot thing. Because this ends up being like, the +1 mode is ramp in a weird way, because it just lets you cast low cost spells for free. So the +1 mode here is mana advantage, even if it is a little clunky. No one plays him, as you can see, judging by the fact he's only $2. Lock and load, 2 and a blue for a sorcery. Draw a card, then draw a card for each other instant and sorcery spell you've cast this turn. This is the first time that blue has ever gotten an effect like this. And also you can plot it. So you can pay for and plot it, do nothing.
Huh?
Pay for, do nothing. On a later turn, though, draw a bunch of cards. Also, it's not actually Storm, because it specifies each other instant and sorcery. So it's not Storm, it's like Spellslinger Storm. It's different, guys, totally. We got Smirking Spelljacker. 4 and a blue for a flash Djinn Wizard Rogue creature with flying. When it enters, you exile a spell and opponent controls. It targets. It's not A. Whenever this creature attacks, if a card is exiled with it, you may cast the exile card without paying its mana cost. So this card's interesting because it's a it's not even a counter spell. It's a exile counter spell attached to a creature. So you can cast this exile spell. It swings, you cast it, you blink the Spelljacker at instant speed, and continue to exile spells. Blue very rarely even gets like counter spells on creatures to begin with. At least not in mono blue, right? There's Mystic Snake in green blue. Daring Apprentice, I guess, but again, that's counter, not exile. There's Draining Whelk, which is 6 mana to counter a spell, and then it gets some counters. But generally, we've never seen a card before this that let you exile spells attached to a creature, and it also lets you cast them as it swings. So it's like really good theft card. Next up, we got Key to the Vault, a legendary equipment artifact equipped for 2 and a blue. Whenever an equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, you'll look at that many cards from the top of your library. You may exile a non-land card from among them and put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. You may cast the exile card without paying its mana cost. Yet another creature-based, like, draw effect, kind of, where it's like you cast free spells from your deck based on your creatures dealing damage, which, again, not really a thing blue seems to be doing often, is having, like, one of your creatures to deal lots of damage. Like, you don't want to swing with a low to the ground 1-drop creature with this, which is usually Blue's specialty. Usually Blue's whole thing is swinging with, like, your 2/2 Tall Rin Drakes or your 1 mana unblockable creatures. No, this thing wants you to swing with, like, big giant creatures, which again is not really a thing Blue often cares about. I just think it's neat. Moving on, chat, to Modern Horizons 3. We got Brain Surge. Have you ever looked at Brainstorm and thought to yourself, man, I wish this card was card advantage and not card selection. Now you can. With Brain Surge. 3-minute instant, draw 4. Hello? 3-minute instant, draw 4. But then you put 2 cards from your hand on top of your library in any order. So for 2 more mana, you get to actually go up a card and look at an extra card as well. Honestly, this card is good. Like there's nothing new about this. This is totally in flavor for blue. This card is just really good. Shameless Brain Surge plug. Play it. Like, actually. Copy land! 2 and a blue for an enchantment. You may have this enchantment enter as a copy of any land on the battlefield, except it's an enchantment. In addition to its other types, it copies lands. That's it. That's the whole card. That's a thing blue has not got before. So now blue can copy lands. If you could if you could get your own ancient tomb by running this, would you do that? It's not really, I mean, if you're paying mana for an ancient tomb, I guess it's also like not really an ancient tomb. But regardless, the important factor here, chat, is the fact that blue can now copy lands. Emrakul's Messenger. 1 and blue for a devoid creature Eldrazi Fairy Rogue. Flying. Whenever you draw your second card each turn, make a spawn. So now you can ramp by drawing cards, which is the thing blue is best at doing. Obey her will. Don't be a fool. Submit your mind to Emrakul. This card is cool. 100%. Like her first of all, the art, sick. Love her. I will say, blue, I'd say, struggles to consistently draw not 1 but 2 cards on opponent's turns. So that thing, that matters a fair bit. Bro, I'm not gonna lie. If you can find a way to get a trigger of her on every opponent's turn, good luck. Because I found that I can never get her to trigger on any turn besides my own. I guess there's Ristic Study. If you're in a pod full of people who like are not smart, it'll be easy there, I guess. Kozilek's Unsealing. 2 in the blue for an enchantment, devoid. Whenever you cast a creature spell with mana value 4, 5, or 6, create 2 spawn for ramp purposes, of course, in your blue deck. Whenever you cast a creature spell with mana value 7 or greater, draw 3 cards. Again, blue is getting benefits for casting creatures, which is primarily green's thing. Why? It's also just nuts, and it's nuts in, let's be honest, Simic. Because you ramp a lot, and now all your giant creatures draw you 3 cards, and all of your medium to giant creatures ramp you by not 1 but 2 ritual mana spawns. Blue got a lot of weird stuff this year, man. Really good in any deck, to be honest. I don't know about that. I mean, if I'm running 10 creatures, surely it's not good then, right? Archway of Innovation. It's a land, I know. First one of those we've seen so far. This land enters tapped unless you control an island, God forbid, in your blue deck. Tap, add blue. Pay blue to tap. The next spell you cast this turn has Improvise. Am I going blind right now, bro? What is happening? This is the closest thing you will get to Tolarian Academy getting on Bandit Commander. You gotta pay 2 mana to get the effect of your artifacts giving you mana advantage. So you're not actually netting anything unless you have 3 or more artifacts in the field. Probably one of the best mana potential cards. Like blue honestly doesn't really get a lot of super good ramp. Like actual ramp that's not like, oh, your spells cost 1 less. And usually that's reserved for specifically instant sorceries. This thing can totally make you a lot of mana. Only downside is you gotta be an artifact deck. But blue already is a pretty artifact heavy color. So it's like me saying, oh no, my green card is based on how many lands I ramp. Oh, God forbid. Sunken Palace. A cave land. What that's worth. Tap, add blue. Pay 1 to blue. Tap, exile 7 cards from your graveyard. Add 1 blue. You lose 2 mana to do this. When you spend this mana to cast a spell or activate ability, copy that spell or ability. You may choose new targets for the copy. A land that can copy spells? You only gotta transform it? I mean, okay, Eris tap, you got exile 7 whatever cards from your graveyard. That's the first time I've ever had a land that can copy spells. That's about it. It's about all the commentary I got on this one, I ain't gonna lie. Harbinger of the Seas. 1 blue for a merfolk wizard creature. 2/2. Non-basic lands or islands. Taking a turn, blue moon. A little too literally, because that's basically what it is. This is the first of all, this is the first time this has ever been live text, but blue has gotten non-basic hate before. Back to basics. Get it? Because it's like non-basics don't untap, so you're going back to basics. Haha, funny, yeah. Blood moon, but easy to get rid of. But it's blue, it's not red, so we gotta talk about it. Flare of Denial, 1 blue for an instant. You may sacrifice a non-token blue creature rather than pay the spell's mana cost. Counter target spell. And for a free counter spell, it's like one of the cheapest ones out there, because it turns out that blue does not have a lot of good non-token creatures worth running to cast this for free. This card's actually kind of mid. Yeah, it is, but this card's actually really hard to run. Like, there's actually not a lot of decks where you can feasibly run this and cast it for free consistently. So it's more so like a utility piece that some decks might get access to, rather than being a hard free counter spell that lots of decks want. But regardless, it still is in fact a free counter spell, which is always noteworthy. March from Velis Vel, 2 blue for a sorcery. Choose a non-basic land type. Each land you control of that type becomes a copy of target creature you control until end of turn and gains haste until end of turn. Very strange card. Blue, any color really, does not get the ability to turn their lands into copies of creatures. Great in gates, true. If you're running an Urza package, it might be fine there as well. Like Urza's Tower, Mine, Power Plant, that sort of thing. Could be cool in deserts if there were any desert support in blue. That makes me actually want to build a like blue desert deck now. That's kind of spicy, actually. Royal Cartographer, 1 blue for a merfolk rogue creature. Landfall. Whenever a land control enters to get energy, tap, pay 6 energy, draw 3 cards. This is notable because this is a land-based draw engine in blue. Most draw that cares about lands is reserved for green, let's be honest. But this is a blue card that does that. It's also energy, but every color gets energy. That's not really that relevant. Wonderscape Sage, 1 blue for a Moonfolk Wizard flying creature, 1/3. Tap, return a land you control to its owner's hand, draw a card, then discard a card unless that land has a non-basic land type. Again, land-based draw in blue of all things, which is not really a thing blue gets, but I guess it does now. Also lets you kind of like repeat land triggers, which has always been Moonfolk's thing. Like Moonfolk as a creature type, their thing has always been returning lands to your hand for effects. That was a whole like weird shtick they had in Kamigawa. That was the wrong text box. Like Moonfolk's thing has always been returning things to your hand, or mostly lands. At least in original Kamigawa block, it was mostly lands to get effects. So this card is sort of a callback to that, but it's also land-based card draw, which is new to blue in general. Strix Serenade. 1 blue mana instant. Counter to her artifact, creature, or planeswalker spell. Its controller makes a 2/2 blue bird creature token with flying. What if you want it to be Swan Song, but God said change the types? You get Strix Serenade. Not much to say here. It's just a good counter spell. 1 mana that counters a creature, planeswalker, or artifact. Hits a lot of things for a small amount of mana. This card is mostly commander hate, but it doesn't do what 1 mana cost cast spells are supposed to do, which is use protection. I agree somewhat. Like, I run Dispel in my decks a lot because it just stops removal from hitting me most of the time. I find in competitive settings, free counter magic or cheap counter magic usually is used to protect your own things rather than use offensively. But even so, I still feel like 1 mana to hit a creature or artifact or planeswalker is still really good and noteworthy and worth mentioning for the sake of this stream. Moving on to Assassin's Creed here. There is nothing in this set, unlike white. Ballad of the Black Flag. 1 blue for a Saga enchantment. For 1 mana, you mill 3 cards. You may put a historic card from among them into your hand. On chapter 4, historic spells you cast this turn cost 2 less to cast. Might read that and think, oh, your artifacts cost less? That's not really that weird. But what does matter a lot is the fact that it makes your sagas and your legendaries cost less, which is not really a thing blue gets. Blue does not get cost reduction for legends in general and sagas. So that alone is pretty good. And also this thing, like, draws you 3 cards, probably. Really good. Sets you up for an amazing turn. So it's a noteworthy card for the sake of the stream. We got Loyal Inventor. 2 and blue for a human artificer creature, 2/3 vigilance. When this creature enters, you may search your library for an artifact card, reveal it, and then shuffle. Put that card into your hand if you control an assassin, otherwise put that card on top of your library. Blue has had artifact tutors in the past. We've had, like, first of all, there's all the treasure mages and friends. Like Trophy Mage, Tribute Mage, Trinket Mage, all them. This guy grabs any artifact. Not restricted to mana cost. However, the downside is that the card goes on top of your library. You'll find most of the time, artifact decks only play like 1 or 2 of the Treasure Mage and Friend clones. This guy is 20 cents, grabs any artifact, but puts it on top. Grab Portal to Phyrexia to discard with Da Vinci. Da Vinci? Speaking of Da Vinci, we actually have on the list Da Vinci. 2 and a blue for a 3/3 Artificer human creature. 3 blue. Until end of turn, Thopters you control have base power and toughness XX, where X is the number of cards in your hand. Leonardo is actually, like, really good. Let me read the rest of the card here. 2 and a blue, tap. Draw a card and discard a card. If the discarded card was an artifact card, exile from your graveyard. If you do, create a token as a copy of it, except it's a 0/2 Thopter artifact creature with flying, in addition to its other types. It's kind of like, Quicksilver Amulets.
Huh?
I think in command zone, only downside is that you don't really get to keep the stats. It becomes a 0/2 flyer regardless. But that's fine, because you can just cheat out, like, you know, your giant creatures that have really good stack abilities, like Jin Gataxius. Oh, never mind. Never mind. I'm stupid. Oh my god, no. I can't get Jin Gataxius. It's artifact cards, not creatures. I'm so sorry. You can make him one? True. Yeah. I guess with like, oh yeah, this thing. Non-land permanents you control are artifacts or types. The same is true of permanent spells you control and non-land permanent cards you own that aren't in the battlefield. Yeah. But yeah, it's really cool. He kind of is like a Craterhoof almost with this ability. Because you can pump your Thopters a ton. Actually really wild. Moving on to Bloomburrow chat. We got Aluge, the Shoreless Sea. 1 blue for a legendary elemental fish creature. Aluge's power and toughness are each equal to the number of islands you control. Whenever Aluge enters or attacks, put a flood counter on target land. It's an island in addition to their types for as long as there's a flood counter on it. The first instant or sorcery spell you cast each turn costs blue, or 1 generic less, to cast for each land you control with a flood counter on it. Once again, instant and sorcery based ramp that is in mono blue. Again, this year. It also scales as the game goes on, so you get this card just means free cast spells each turn. Yeah, there's also that. So Aluge is a free counter magic machine. First of all, it scales with the number of islands you have. So late game, it's like a 4-minute 8/8. Can also turn non-islands into islands, which is good either for... Okay, well, for... You put it on your islands, or your lands, because his cost reduction is based off of the number of lands you have with flood counters on them. And it also ramps you for actual blue mana, not just generic. Valley Flood Caller. 2 and a blue for a 2/2 flash otter wizard. You may cast non-creature spells as though they had flash. Also gives your birds, frogs, otters, and rats you control +1/+1 and untaps them whenever you cast a non-creature spell. Little odd, but okay. You can untap Derevi with this to permalock with stasis. Yeah, I guess you can. Maskwood Nexus, true. Yeah, okay. The untap is actually, like, surprisingly relevant, dude. Rats. Rats are very popular in black, though. So you gotta be, like, a blue-black, rat colony deck. Vren the Relentless, this guy. So you could play him with Flood Caller and get that value. Cool card, and is a flash enabler for blue beyond just your ley lines now. Polywalk Prodigy, 1 to blue, 1/3, evolve. Whenever an opponent casts a non-creature spell, mana value less than Polywalk Prodigy's power, you draw a card. Amazing draw engine. Will draw you so many cards unless you're in a creature pod. Which even then, like, everyone's general ramp spells will draw you cards, probably, at the very least. And again, it's 2 mana. If this thing draws you 2 cards, you've gotten your value. Wishing Well up next. 3 and a blue for an artifact. Tap, put a coin counter on this artifact. When you do, you may cast target instant or sorcery card with mana value equal to the number of coin counters on this artifact from your graveyard without paying its mana cost. If that spell would be put into your graveyard, exile instead. Yo, chat? Archaeomancer, eat your heart out? I can cast an instant or sorcery with mana value equal to the number of coin counters from my graveyard every turn for free. For free. It's free, chat. It's free real estate. Vegan as foretold. I feel like this is as foretold but better because I at the very least I can cast you know, a 1 minute cantrip immediately. And then, it's sorcery speed. This blows because it's equal to amount of coin counters, so it's 1, then 2, then 3. I mean, like, if you compare this to Archaeomancer, though, right? Archaeomancer is 4 mana, get back one spell. Exactly equal. I understand. I still think it's good. It still can cast you back your good spells that qualify for sorcery speed. Mancer is never uses value though to way to loop spells. I've met my fair share of people who think like Archaeomancer is like the only good recursion spell in blue. I don't agree with them, but they exist. The sorcery speed sucks a lot because it means you can't cast counter spells, which does matter a lot. I feel like even if this thing just casts like 2 spells, you've gotten your value. Moving on to Duskmourn, chat. Abhorrent Oculus. What the hell happened? What the hell happened? How did this thing make it through? 2 and a blue for a 5/5 with flying. As an additional cost to cast this spell, exile 6 cards from your graveyard. Oh no. Beginning of each opponent's upkeep, manifest dread, which means you look at the top 2 cards of your library, put 1 onto the battlefield face down as a 2/2 creature, and the other into your graveyard. Turn it face up anytime for its mana cost, if it's a creature card. We got the Eye of Cthulhu in Magic the Gathering before GTA 6. Does it need to be a turn 3 play though? It's still a nuts like turn 7 drop, because 1 turn cycle and you get to, you mill 3 and get 3 2/2s? Like, I don't think this thing needs to be a turn 3 play. It's still a really good value piece, I feel like, right? 3 mana 5/5 flyer. Nuts. Stats. Stat line is crazy. Unearth effects go crazy, true. What do you mean? Nothing. Like, I don't think I have to manifest anything for me to get my value. If I'm getting a 2/2 every opponent's turn, and also getting, I'd say card selection, but that doesn't really count because both cards are getting off of top of my library. Like, I'm happy just to get random 2/2s. I'm fine with that. On a 3 mana creature, I'm fine just getting chump blockers or like just decent attackers. I mean, it's 6 power every turn cycle. That's more than Grave Titan. That's more than Grave Titan at half the mana value. And I like Grave Titan. For a color that usually is critiqued to have the worst creatures in terms of like stats, this thing is kind of up there. Entity Tracker. 2 and a blue for a Human Scout Flash 2/3 creature. Eerie. Whenever an enchantment enters, or whenever you fully unlock a room, draw a card. It's a blue enchantress. And it's got flash. That's it. That's the whole card. Fear of Sleep Paralysis. 5 and a blue. 6 mana. Or a 6/6 enchantment nightmare creature. Flying. Whenever this creature or another enchantment you control enters, and whenever you fully unlock a room, tap up to 1 target creature and put a stun counter on it. Stun counters can't be removed from permanents or opponent's control. They won't untap if they have stun counters. So now, you can perma-freeze your opponent's creatures. I would be very surprised if this line of text never comes back. I'd be very surprised if this line of text never came back. This feels like a form of like permanent removal just waiting to happen. It's not particularly powerful at all. It's more so the fact that this is a card that it actually gives extra benefits to stun counters. Like I said, I'd be very surprised if we don't see more like stun counter innovation in the future. It feels like something that's just bound to happen. Next up, chat. Put it in chat. Put it in chat, y'all. I want to see it. I want to see it. 2 blue mana for an instant. Choose one. Counter target creature or enchantment spell. Or return 1 or 2 target creatures and or enchantments you own to your hand. I'm actually a big fan of this card. It can counter creatures or enchantments, or it can be a save spell. It's pretty good. It's just the fact that it's like very flexible for what it is. It's a counter spell. It's also a save spell. Also, it has meme status, so that instantly makes it like really good. We have Silent Hall Creeper chat. 1 to blue. This creature can't be blocked. Enchantment Horror creature 1/1. Whenever this creature deals a combat damage to a player, choose one that hasn't been chosen. You put 2 +1/+1 counters on it. You draw a card, or it becomes a copy of another target creature you control. You might read this and just say, it's just a clone, Bounce Man. Why the hell do I care? It's literally just a clone. Why do I care? Because it's a clone that you can run out early before there's anything actually worth copying, and then get benefits and then copy things. It's like it's a clone that you can cast before you cast the thing you actually want to clone, which matters for like, you know, ordering purposes. Also, you can make the thing you clone slightly better by getting a +2/+2 bonus on it. It's also 2 mana, which matters because everyone knows that Phantasmal Image is like the best clone simply due to the fact that it's 2 mana. The Tale of Tamio. God forbid we kill off characters who actually are like run out of ideas and are dry now. No. We gotta kill actually interesting characters like Tamio. God forbid we kill off like Jace or Nissa or Chandra. Let's kill Tamio, the only Moonfolk Planeswalker. Spite aside. 2 to blue for a legendary enchantment saga. Chapters 1 through 3. Mill 2 cards. If 2 cards that share a card type were milled this way, draw a card and repeat this process. On chapter 4, exile any number of target instant, sorcery, and or Tamio Planeswalker cards from your graveyard. Copy them. You may cast any number of the copies. This thing can draw you like no cards, or it can draw you some cards, or you can get lucky and draw like 7 cards. Do you like gambling, chat? Do you like gambling? Well, then play the Tale of Tamio. If you mill lots of cards that share card types, you'll draw lots of cards. And I know, I know you Magic players love drawing cards. And then chapter 4 is recursion for instant sorceries and Timio Planeswalker cards. Whatever. They came from the pipes, chat. 4 and a blue enchantment. When this enchantment enters, manifest dread twice. Whenever a face-down creature control enters, draw a card. Again, more creature-based card draw, which has been not Blue's thing for a very long time, or ever for that matter. And yet here we are. Moving on to foundations. Archmage of Runes. Have you ever wanted Goblin Electromancer and Archmage Emeritus to have a child? Well, now you can. For 5 mana, you get a 3/6 giant that not only makes your spells cost less, but also makes your instant sorceries draw you cards. Again, a mono blue card that gives your instants and sorceries cost reduction and card draw. I'm telling y'all, bro, blue has gotten like so much like core support this year. It's kind of nuts. Like, actually, this is what the third card we've covered that makes your instant sorceries cost less in mono blue. Also, the fact that the stat line isn't like a 2/2 is good too. True, it has an actually like respectable body. It's ramp and card draw in one card. What more could you possibly want in a blue card? Nonetheless, we got High Fae Trickster, 3 and a blue for a flash 4/2 flying fairy wizard creature. You may cast spells as though they had flash. Yet another flash enabler for blue, and oh, by the way, it has flash, so you don't have to tap out on your turn in your blue tempo deck to turn your flash on. No, you cast it on your terms. So now blue has not 1, not 2, but 3 flash engines in their decks. Lunar Insight, 3 mana sorcery, draw a card for each different mana value among non-land permanents you control. If our comparison is divination, 3 mana draw 2 is playable. 3 mana draw 3, 3 mana draw 2 is like playable. 3 mana draw 3 is good. 3 mana draw 4 and beyond is nuts. Blue in the past has not really been a permanent heavy deck. But I mean, all it takes is like your commander and a 2 mana rock, and this is at worst a divination. If it's a 3 mana harmonize, it's like solid, like very playable, very good. I'm happy with it. Is it better than Brain Surge if it draws 3 cards, chat? Like, are you playing Lunar Insight or Brain Surge? Or are you playing both? You're gonna be that guy. Brain Surge all the way. I agree, 100%. I'm a big fan of Brain Surge, bro. Preferred Treasure Cruise. Fair, 100%. I saw people hyping it up a lot. I don't think it's actually that good because of how non-permanent based blue has been in the past. Maybe in an artifact deck, it might be really good there. Sphinx of Forgotten Lore. 2 blue for a 3/3 Sphinx creature with flash and flying. Whenever this creature attacks, target instant or sorcery card in your graveyard gains flashback until end of turn. The flashback cost is equal to that card's mana cost. We have Fat Snapcaster now. That as a whole card. It's Fat Snapcaster. That also can get you multiple spells over the course of the game, not just the one. And again, it has flash. Seems kind of bad. I guess again, this is a sort of thing where it's like, it's only good for non-counter spells because it only gives things flashback when it attacks. So you're going to want to be doing your ponders, your cantrips, your pongifies, all that. It has flash, so you can flash it in on your opponent's end step and be fine that way. It's good in reactive decks because you can cast it on your opponent's turn. It's bad in reactive decks because it doesn't work with your counter spells. But regardless, I still think the fact that it is a recursion engine makes it relevant. Not busted. A amazing budget Snapcaster because it's literally 50 cents. It is 50 cents. Very cheap. Snappy is what right now? Snappy is 15 bucks. It has flash. If you're playing your tempo reactive decks, I feel like you can slot him in pretty easily without much consideration. Maybe I'm tweaking. But chat, with that out of the way, where do we think blue sits in Commander right now? I think blue got a lot of redundancy this year. I think between the fact that blue got like instant and sorcery reduction spells, we had Case of a Ransacked Lab, we had Thunderclap Drake. Emerald's Messenger was a solid ramp spell that was based off a card draw. Archmage of Runes in Foundations. Blue got 3 more cards that reduced the cost of their spells, and also like several draw engines for your instant and sorcery spells. 50% of chat thinks it needs help. Interesting. I know casuals love to hate on blue because it's too strong. I know. We like to say that a lot. It's too strong because cast spells are annoying. I think blue's core package has gotten a lot better this year. This might be a hot take, but I actually believe that blue right now, before I started looking through the cards of 2024, that blue actually was like really behind right now. So I think I've mentioned this in streams before, but if you were playing Commander in like 2018-ish online, chances are good you saw at least once these mono blue cast spell decks where eventually they were able to reach a critical mass of card draw that they could counter every spell in the pod and not break a sweat. And if those decks reached that point, the game was pretty much over. Blue just struggled to actually end the games after getting to that point. Those decks have pretty much just like phased out of existence because every other color has gotten faster. Like back in 2018, it was not uncommon to see late game pods just consisting of people playing a bunch of like 6 mana, like decently impactful creatures. Like, oh, you're rampaging Baylofts or your big like dumb stupid dragon or angel or whatever, right? It was not uncommon to see the end games of Commander pods be just like 1 spell a turn. And if the blue player could get to a point where they could counter 3 spells every turn cycle, they were fine. They could totally like survive that, no problem. The issue is that nowadays Commander has become so like heavily optimized that every other color besides blue has become faster and more efficient to the point where those mono blue counterspell decks can no longer keep up. Like they've basically just been phased out of existence. They can no longer reach that point of they can counterspell everything and be fine. That's not a thing they can do anymore. With how much faster every color has gotten, blue has way less time to actually stabilize and get enough lands to be able to comfortably hold up mana. You will not have enough time to stabilize and reach a critical mass of card draw and counterspells. You just won't. I also think every color has just gotten more efficient card draw in general, to the point where like it's much harder for blue's card draw to outperform it. Like green, if you miss your shot of countering green's like creature power based card draw, that's it, bro. You're done. Like you've lost. You've already lost if you fail to counterspell the green card draw as a counterspell deck. So blue for a long time I felt like kind of got like shadow nerfed because every other color getting better card draw, every other color getting faster in general, hit blue, which was supposed to be the slow reactive color, very hard. And I think I think right now blue is the worst it has ever been in casual commander. Which is probably a hot take for some people. They probably hear that and think I'm insane because counterspells are so good. Chat is very torn on where blue is right now. I see 2 votes for needs help, 1 vote for balance, and 2 votes for a little too strong. I can appreciate the fact that blue has gotten so many instant and sorcery cost reducers because it makes it easier for them to cast counterspells. Like, you know, all your 1 and a blue counter magic becomes 1 mana with a cost reducer out, which is a big deal for assembling that counterspell critical mass. Did blue get a ton of like really good card draw? We got Prodigy. Prodigy is good. Ransack Lab and the Archmage of Runes is good too. Yeah. So the fact that blue has gotten so many instant and sorcery card draw effects plus instant sorcery reducers means that it should, in theory, be a lot easier for mono blue decks to be able to hit that critical mass of card draw and counterspells. So we'll have to see how much stronger counterspell decks in general become within the next year. It's hard to tell how strong blue is with all of the redundancy it's got, but without being able to see the results of all of the support, I'm gonna say blue right now is balanced. I think blue at its core has always been better off as a support color in decks. Mono blue has always had its fair share of problems. Even back then, the issue is that the mono blue counterspell decks just no longer can exist in today's economy of Commander. We'll just have to see how blue fares, honestly. I want to say I think it got a lot of really good card draw and ramp in a way that was actually relevant to it, plus some new tools here and there for like kind of out of the way strategies. Like we saw it got some pretty cool creatures with like Smirking Spelljacker. It got some cool creature support in general with like Nerd Rage of all things. Its core of counterspell decks got buffed while also giving us some new tools to work with as well. I'm gonna finalize on saying it's balanced.